Should we talk about League Two? So far, I've predicted the Premier League, the Championship, and League One. My early predictions, they're probably all going to be wrong. But let's talk about League Two. So, whereas League One is probably going to be the most competitive league out of England's top 5 or 6 tiers, I think League Two will still be competitive, but I think it's the weakest it's been in quite a few years. I don't think there are any standout sides like last season. I thought Doncaster would probably run away with it. I did put Chesterfield up there. They both did finish quite high up in the table. I don't think there's any sides that stand out this season, which will make for a very competitive league, but it's hard to predict. So I'm going to try, and let's start with Accrington Stanley, as I'm going to go alphabetically again. And will Accrington Stanley finish? Well, they've been struggling. They struggled last season. I think the bottom two were very poor, Carlisle and Morecambe. So Accrington Stanley were good enough to stay up. I think they will. I don't think there'll be much of a change. I think there'll be relegation battle again at Accrington unless there's a massive improvement. So they finished 21st last season. I've put Accrington Stanley 21st again this season. So then the next in alphabetical order is newly promoted National League winners Barnet. Dean Brennan is building a hell of a squad at Barnet. Really attacking side. I saw them twice in the FA Cup as on my road to Wembley journey. I watched them beat Chelmsford 4-0 and they were lethal in that game. I then watched them go to Exeter, 2 leagues higher than them at the time, and they played out one of the best games of football that I've ever seen. I think they had 3 chances and they scored 3 goals. Exeter ended up winning 5-3, and Barnet were lethal. With there not being much difference between the top of the National League and League Two, this might surprise some people. I think Dean Brennan is going to be getting a back-to-back promotion. I've put Barnet as League Two winners. Barnet first. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. I think they'll be very strong. So we go from the top of the table to the middle of the table, and we go with Barrow. I've kind of thought they were going to head to League One over the last few seasons. They seem to be disappointing. I don't think they're anywhere near dropping out of the division. They were 16th last season. I think they'll improve a little bit, but I think they'll end up mid-table again. So I've put Barrow in 14th place. Bristol Rovers came down from League One last season after Burton's late revival. I don't think this is going to be a brilliant season for the teams that came down from League One. I think Bristol Rovers will be the best of them, but I think they're going to fall short of promotion. I think they're going to fall short of any sort of promotion unless they make a few signings. I've seen a few people putting Bristol Rovers going straight back up. Possible, but right now, as of right now, I don't think they will, and I've put Bristol Rovers in 10th. Next in alphabetical order, we have Bromley. This is a team that is hugely punching above their weight. For a team the size of Bromley to be in the Football League is a massive achievement. I think I saw them at Vale Park towards the end of the season. I think Bromley were already on holiday while Port Vale were pushing for promotion. I watched them lose 5-0 at Vale Park. I think this is going to be a case of second season syndrome for Bromley. I've dropped them down quite a lot. They ended up 11th last season. I don't think they'll go down because I think there will be 2 weaker teams, but I can see Bromley dropping right down the table this season. I've got them in a relegation battle, but I've got them just surviving. I've got them finishing 22nd. They might surprise me. Cambridge United were one of the teams that came down from League One. Dreadful season. They don't really excite me this season. I can't see them bouncing back. I don't think any of the teams that came down are going to be involved in a relegation battle. I just think they're all going to be underwhelming, really. So Cambridge United, I've put 12th, and they'll need to hold on to mid-table because if they have another dreadful season, you never know. They could end up plummeting down that table. After Cambridge United, it is Cheltenham Town. Finished in 15th last season. They've been poor since they dropped out of League One. I think this is going to be a long season for Cheltenham. I don't think there's going to be any improvement. I think if anything, they're going to regress a little bit. They will be involved in a relegation battle, but I think they'll be too good to go down. I've got Cheltenham in 20th place, which brings us to Chesterfield, another one of the sides that's fairly local to me. I thought Chesterfield were going to win League Two last season after winning the National League so easily. I don't think they will win the title this year, but Paul Cook is building a decent squad at Chesterfield, and I think they're going to improve on last season, where they finished 7th and they were beaten in the playoffs by Walsall. I've got Chesterfield going up. I've got Chesterfield finishing 3rd. I think it's going to be really close with one other team, which probably will surprise you, but we'll come to that. So Chesterfield 3rd. And Colchester United, they were one of the sides that I thought were going to struggle last season. They finished 10th. I think there's not going to be much of an improvement at Colchester. I think they're an established League Two side. They could surprise a few people by making the playoffs or even better. But right now, this moment in time, I've got Colchester finishing comfortably in mid-table again, 11th place, so sandwiched between Bristol Rovers and Cambridge United. After Colchester, it's Crawley Town, and I think out of all the teams that came down, I think Crawley are likely to struggle the most. Of course, they stunned a few people by reaching League One for last season. Come straight back down. I think League Two is Crawley's kind of level. I've got them finishing lower than all the other teams that came down. Again, I think they're too good to go down again. I just think they're going to have a poor season, and I've got Crawley in 19th. So Crewe, I saw Crewe play at Vale Park in November, and from what I'd seen at the time, they looked like the strongest League Two side. So they dropped off quite a lot in the end. They finished 13th. The drop off was impressive. Not as impressive as Walsall's, but impressive. I think Crewe, I've gone for them finishing 13th, exactly the same as they were last season. And I think the bookies have them roughly mid-table as well. So I think it's going to be a fairly standard season for them. We've then got Fleetwood Town. I think Fleetwood are too good to be involved in a relegation battle. They finished 14th last season. I've put them down a few places. Unless there's some transfer activity at Fleetwood, I can see them having another underwhelming season, and I've gone with 18th. So next up, we've got Gillingham. From some of the odds I've got, puts Gillingham in the playoffs. I think they'll be in amongst the playoff places, but I don't think they're quite there yet. It'll be a vast improvement on last season's 17th place finish. I've got Gillingham in 9th, so just missing out on the playoffs. And then we have Grimsby Town. So Grimsby were 9th, where I've just put Gillingham last season. What are they going to do this season? I think they'll drop off a little bit. Again, I don't think they'll be amongst the relegation places. I've put Grimsby Town 15th. So next is Harrogate Town. I can see Harrogate struggling. I think they are one of the smaller sides in League Two. I think they've been punching well above their stations for a while, and I think they will be deep in a relegation battle with Bromley and Accrington and one other team. So I've put Harrogate Town. I've got them bottom. I've got Harrogate Town in 24th place. But again, it's going to be so close at the bottom. From Harrogate Town, we've got MK Dons, and they look to be spending a bit of cash in order to push on and follow Wimbledon into League One. A few of the bookies have got them as favourites to win League Two. They had an awful season last season. They finished 19th. So, whereas they will improve, I can't see them improving that much. They might prove me wrong. I've got MK Dons in the playoffs. I've got them in 5th. That's probably where their season ends, to be quite honest. MK Dons 5th. And then we've got one of the sides that's going to struggle, Newport County. Yeah, I think Newport and Harrogate are the two favourites to go down. I think that's difficult to argue, really. Yeah, I think they struggled last season, finishing just above Carlisle. I think their luck's going to run out this season. I think Newport County go down with Harrogate, so I've got Newport 23rd. So we've got 7 sides to look at so far, several playoff places still to give out, a promotion place to give out. We've got Notts County, Oldham, Salford, Shrewsbury, Swindon, Tranmere, and Walsall. So we'll start with Notts County as we're going alphabetically. Sacked the manager after reaching the playoffs. I think a lot of the fans, when I went to watch their playoff home game against Wimbledon, a lot of the fans were unhappy with the play style and the negative play style. I think Notts County are a very ambitious club. I think they're a massive club in League Two. And to be quite honest, they could go and win the League Two title, or they could have an awful season and finish 10th. They're one of those. I think Notts County's ambition, they haven't named a new manager yet. They might have done by the time this goes out. So apologies if I've missed that. I'm going to put Notts County in 2nd. That might change over the next couple of weeks. So Notts County promoted in 2nd, despite Maynard going. After Notts County, we have Oldham Athletic. So I saw Oldham twice in the playoffs. I watched them thrash Halifax at Boundary Park, and I watched them win that massive playoff final at Wembley a couple of weeks ago. My vlogs are on this channel, so you can find them. I'll put the link in the description under this video. I think Oldham are one of the most exciting clubs at this level. Another huge club that shouldn't have plummeted this far down the pyramid. I think they're comfortably a League One or a Championship club. Boundary Park's impressive, and I think they're going to have another really good season. As I mentioned with Barnet, the top of the National League it's almost the same style of football. It's almost the same standard as League Two. You very rarely see a team come up and go straight back down. I think Oldham are going to have a very good season again. I think I don't think they'll have it in them to finish in the top 3. But like I said, there's no real standout side, so it wouldn't surprise me if they did finish in the top 3. I think Oldham fans, sorry to say, I think you're going to have to go through it again. I've put Oldham in the playoffs, Oldham in 4th, and the playoffs this season showed how capable Oldham are. Mickey Mellon has done a great job there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Oldham do win the playoffs. I'll come back to the playoffs shortly, but Oldham Athletic 4th. We come from Oldham to another northern side who are ambitious. We've got Salford City, owned by the class of 92. They will spend. I think they'll be pushing for promotion. Again, they're one of those that could be in the top 3. I think the bookies had them in the playoff places. I'm going to put them in the playoff places. I haven't seen enough of them that says they're going to get promoted, but I think they're one of those sides that are always going to be up there. So I've put Salford City in 7th place and make the playoffs, which would put them against Oldham. If that happens, I'm going to attend one of or both of those playoff games. Oldham against Salford would be fantastic playoff ties. Oldham fans, you're going through it again, I'm afraid. So Salford City 7th. We've got 4 left. We've got Shrewsbury, Swindon, Tranmere, and Walsall, with only one playoff place to give. Who's going to get the playoff place out of those 4 teams? Well, it won't be Shrewsbury. I think they're going to have a season of consolidation in League Two. I think they were poor last season. Yeah, they'll be nowhere near promotion. I don't think they're going to go down again. So I've put Shrewsbury Town in 16th. So no playoff place for Shrewsbury. Will it be Swindon who make the playoffs? I think a few people put Swindon down at the bottom last season. I think they were for quite a big spell of the season, but they ended up pushing on and finishing in the top half. They finished 12th. I think they're going to have a much better season and they could quite possibly get into the playoffs, but I've got them just missing out. So I've got Swindon Town in 8th. That's going to be close. So Tranmere and Walsall are the last 2 teams. Tranmere finishing 20th last season, while Walsall finished 4th after being miles clear. They threw away a huge lead. So the spoiler is that I don't think it's Tranmere who are going to get the playoff place. I think they'll improve on last season, but I still don't think they are good enough to compete in the top end of League Two. So I've put Tranmere Rovers in 17th, which leaves Walsall for the playoffs. Walsall, I think, are going to be deflated after this season. When you're that far ahead, they were 12 points clear. I think they had a game in hand at one point as well. I just think the mood is going to be deflated at Walsall. They are one of the better sides in League Two. I think it's going to be confidence issues as well with their inability to win games since February. They've struggled. I think it's playoffs again for Walsall. I've got them in 6th. So that would be a playoff match against MK Dons. I think probably an Oldham Walsall playoff final. So Walsall 6th. Let's recap then. So we've got Barnet winning the title. I know that's an odd pick, but Dean Brennan is building something special. So Barnet first. Notts County going up with rivals Chesterfield, 2nd and 3rd. The playoffs, we've got Oldham Athletic, MK Dons, Walsall, and Salford City. And as I said, I think Oldham's fans are going to have to go through the playoffs again. And I think they will win the playoffs. Back-to-back promotions for both of last season's National League sides. So Swindon, Gillingham, and Bristol Rovers missing out on the playoffs, 8th, 9th, 10th. We've got Colchester 11th, Cambridge 12th, and Crewe 13th. Barrow, Grimsby, Shrewsbury, and Tranmere mid-table. We've then got Fleetwood 18th, Crawley 19th, and this is where I think the relegation battle begins. We've got Cheltenham in 20th, Accrington Stanley 21st, Bromley just staying up in their 2nd season in 22nd, with Newport finishing 23rd and Harrogate going down at the bottom. So that's my League Two early prediction. I'll be redoing this in a couple of weeks' time to see how much it changes. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you've enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments what your predictions are, or just tell me that I'm wrong. Thanks for watching.